And it's 10 a.m. right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Good morning, good evening, wherever in the world you're watching from. It's Business Morning, coming to you live from Channels HQ. Let's get the top stories that set your agenda for today. We see President Bola Tinubu has signed a 2.17 trillion naira Supplementary Appropriation Act, which was recently passed by the National Assembly. According to the statement signed by the Special Advisor to the President, the act was signed in the President's office at the State House in the presence of the leadership of National Assembly led by President of the Senate, Godswill Akpabio, and the Speaker of the House of Representatives, retired Honorable Tajuddin Abbas, Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Senator George Akume, as well as the Chairman of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, Mr. Zach Adedeji. The President also commended the National Assembly for its consideration and approval and assures Nigerians that the executive arm of government would ensure the judicious use of the budgeted resources to strengthen Nigeria's security architecture and address Nigeria's critical infrastructure deficit, among others. And now let's get a check on the FX market. Now see the Naira fell against the US dollar at both the official and parallel markets yesterday, marking a sharp reversal from the monetary gain achieved last week. While celebrating that, see the domestic currency depreciated 0.55% to close at 874 Naira to a dollar at close of business yesterday. And data from the NAFEM, where Forex is officially traded, showed the same numbers there. This represents a 4 Naira 80 kobo loss, about 0.55% decline in the local currency compared to the 869 Naira 91 kobo it closed on Tuesday. Intraday high recorded was 1,097 Naira to the dollar, while the intraday low was at 745 Naira to the dollar, representing a wide spread of 352 Naira to the dollar. And the Central Bank of Nigeria has instructed all its branches nationwide to continue issuing various denominations of both old and redesigned higher denomination Naira notes in adequate quantities to deposit money banks across the country. CBN's announcement, which is affirmed by a statement released on its website, also directed that every banknote that has issued remains legal tender and should not be rejected by anyone. This development by the CBN, which is coming a few weeks ahead of the December 31st deadline for the withdrawal of old Naira, also comes amid reports of cash shortages in major cities, despite its recent assurance of sufficient cash available for circulation across the country. And let's get a check on the oil market now, see what's happening there. We see oil prices edged up today as markets shrugged off deflationary indicators in China and looked for further clues on the status of demand from the world's two biggest oil consumers. We see Brent futures rose by 67 cents to $80.21 a barrel, while US WTI crude futures climbed about 56 cents to $75.89 a barrel. We'll get a sense of what's driving sentiment there later on the show. And the Ogun State Governor, Dapo Abiodun, has assured investors of conducive business environment through ongoing reforms in critical sector of the state economy in order to boost the ease of doing business in the state. He made a promise in Abeokuta, the state capital, while playing host to the management team of the Southwest-owned Odua Investment Company Limited, led by the group chairman, Otumba Bimbola Ashiru. The governor commended the management of the investment arm of Odua for necessary turnaround, which has given a new impetus to the development of the Southwest investment portfolio. Take a listen.
All our manufacturers who would normally have shipped their goods from, wherever to Apapa or Tinkana, send their trucks to go and clear the containers from there, we no longer need to do that. Containers destined for manufacturers in the state will be shipped straight to Kajala, so that the clearing and all that will happen in Kajala. And also the export as well. Kajala will also be an export terminal, so if you're exporting from the state, once you stock your container and you put it on the train, it goes straight on the vessel. So these are steps that we've taken to ensure that we ease the ability to do business in the state. We open our state to more investors. We have, of course, the Ogun State Investment and Facilitation Agency. We have the PPP office that now ensures that whatever agreement you're signing with Ogun State is in line with the world best practices. Not just that you sign an agreement because governor wants it this way and then tomorrow somebody else wants it that way.
Well, to our first conversation now, as the central bank moves to clear backlog of matured foreign exchange forward contracts, there are some outstanding. I see a lot of volatility right now in the FX market, with speculators seeming to be loading up shorts again. Let's get a sense of what to expect for the manufacturing industry. Joining us for this conversation is Mr. Festus Mbisiogo, chairman of Blue Diamond Group. Join me right here in the studio. Good morning.
Thank you, Lade, for having me on your program.
Great to have you. Great to have. Thank you for sharing your morning with us.
Thank you.
And definitely good news. We see central bank, moving to clear all of those FX outstanding backlogs at this time. And definitely the manufacturing industry has been hit hard with the FX distortions at this time. Yeah. Tell me, are you guys seeing any easing, at this point? And what are your expectations, going forward when it comes to FX?
Well, as of today, the news I got here, I got from one of the agencies that do supply us dollar, that the dollar is going up high.
Right.
As of last few days, around 950, 1,000, but as of today, it's about 1,160 Naira. So it's still going up, so we don't know where we are now. So I don't know whether we have not seen any positive impact of the backlog that they have just cleared.
So because we know we heard that some tier 2 banks have already received, some of these funds, at this time.
We're yet to see it.
But I know the manufacturing industry, there might be some lag, getting there. But how have you guys been, navigating? Because you import most of your inputs,
exactly.
At this time. What's the...
Honestly, it's a devastating moment for manufacturers in Nigeria. A very, very devastating moment. We don't know where we are. We don't have our long-time planning any longer. We really don't know what next to do. So many of the manufacturing outfits are closing down. But I want to give you some practical example of what I'm trying to portray for the viewers to know. I want to use myself as a case study. Before, a container of resin from China, which we use to produce PVC pipe and other raw materials for building material like PVC pipe, electrical pipe, bore pipe, and so on. We do import this raw material from China. And before, about 7 months ago, a container load is about 32 million. 32 million, including the CIF and the clearing cost. But as I speak to you now, the clearing cost, the landing cost of this container is about 52 million. 52 million, and it must have a negative impact on our economy. Even the buyers, they are finding it difficult to buy this product. Next one. There's another side of the manufacturing outfit of my company, door. Before, a truck of steel door, that's about 3,000 pieces that makes up the truckload. It's about 28 million. As I speak to you now, it's 45 million. Finding it difficult for our clients to possess this very raw material, these very items that we are producing now. So it's a very, very devastating moment. And also, another place it hits the manufacturers, most of us have placed an order for expansion. Like in my factory, we have expansion plan. We have committed money for so many machineries. And these machineries, as of time we budgeted, it's about 750 per dollar. Now it's 1,160. So that's halted our plan, long-term plan. As I speak to you now, we don't know what to do. So government really need to come in to save us, we the manufacturers.
Right, and definitely, I'm sure that I believe that the government have plans, to also clear some of these outstanding backlogs as regards, the manufacturing industry. I'm sure there might be some lag. This starts, last week. We saw the Naira, appreciated based on, all of that news last week. But this week is not looking,
it's not looking
so
at
good,
all.
For the Naira.
Yeah.
So, going forward, now, what do you think the government can do short term, to help alleviate the issues with the manufacturing industry? Because definitely we have long-term plans. Yeah. We're still waiting for that, but for short-term plan to help, support the industry.
I think that's a very good question. Let me just kind of take it further in terms of let them come in to assist us. Most of us run our machineries on diesel. We find it difficult having steady power supply in our factories. Very, very difficult. In my own factory, we do consume about 15,000 liters. 15,000 liters of diesel in a month. Times is about 15 to 20 million. As of today, diesel is 1,250. Why? Before it's about 250, 300. So if government can come in right now to cushion these very expenses that we do incur through the alternative energy source and subsidize it, probably locate all these factories wherever they are and try to bring the prices down for us. That will help a lot. Then secondly, we also want the government to intervene inside of the tax cut. Because as I speak to you now, we are finding it difficult. So many agencies are harassing us in our company. Whether we are producing or we're not producing, they don't care to know. And we must break even for us to pay profit, to pay our workers. So paying our workers now is too difficult for us. We are passing through a lot. So for instant help that we expect from government, while we wait for the dollar rate to come down, they should come and help us, probably on these areas I've just mentioned, tax cuts, and probably subsidize the diesel that some of these factories are using.
Talking about tax cuts, I did see the headline, I think last week, with the LIRS shutting down a couple of companies and hotels, for tax evasion. And, I'm wondering, did these companies really evade tax, or is it, the economic situation, making them not able to, pay their dues?
This economic situation. I want to give you an example. There is this company in Ogun State that just they established their outfit in Ogun State in 2014. They invested $300 million on diapers plant. As I speak to you, they closed down in 2018 to 2019 because of economic hardship, because of these difficulties have enumerated before. It's not only because of the tax matters or tax increase on these agencies requesting us to pay so many taxes. No, the economic, the situation is volatile or not, especially on that diesel. As I have enumerated before, if I spend about 15,000 liters of diesel in my factory, tell me, how do you expect me to break even? It's too difficult. You have not even talked about the maintenance of these very generators. To maintain these generators in the morning, in fact, the overhead, what my accountants do send to me monthly, we spend almost 40 to 50 billion Naira on maintenance of this generator and the fuel, because we have different generators. I have about 3 that will fuel, and each of them run simultaneously, because we produce at times night and day. So it's too difficult. It's not even because of the tax cut.
Right. All right, let's look at other top countries now.
Okay.
Like take, for instance, China.
Okay.
We always talk about China in most markets, global markets. They're either the biggest consumer of this, biggest producer of that. And I know you've operated in China for donkey years at this time. Tell us about the Chinese model at this time. What can we pick from that model to start using here in Nigeria?
Well, I lived in China for close to 20 years, as I told you. These guys are really doing so very well. Let me talk on their manufacturing sector. Once you indicate interest to go into production in China, the Chinese government kind of derives so much joy seeing you going into production. And me, having lived in China for 20 years now, statistics have shown almost every family has somebody that's into production in China. Almost every family. You can Google it. Almost every family. There is this conducive environment for these factories to drive in China. Conducive environment. Once you indicate interest, the authorities where you domicile will locate you. They will ensure that access road to where that factory is located, they will take care of that, ensuring there is accessibility to that very factory. One. Secondly, their interest rate is single-digit interest rate. I have shared with you guys here about a supplier from China that I needed him to supply me some product from China. Because he supplied me one or two containers in a month, he now wrote a proposal to the state government, to the authorities. They loaned him very big amount of money to fund that very product I'm importing from him at a cheaper rate, some 3%, some 4%. Why here? The current loan we collected from bank is about 21% as I speak to you now. So not only that, the Chinese government also introduced what they call tax rebates on each product we export outside China. 13%, meaning if you export goods of $1 million, you are getting 13%. Every manufacturer struggled to export their products. Despite the profit they're making from the sales, they also expect more profit from the government. And almost every item used in China, all their machineries, equipment used in production, 70% of them, if not 80%, are from China, unlike here in this country. So these guys have created conducive environment, not talk of steady power supply. Look, without steady power supply, I've said it time without number, there is no way an economy like Nigeria will thrive if there is no steady power supply. And when there is steady power supply, which I keep on hammering each time I'm on any public function, we need this steady power supply because without it, we're going nowhere. It's because of this steady power supply. In China, you can see somebody staying in his room, creating one idea or the other. Because there is availability of the conducive environment, the person will invent something and start exporting it to all over the world. So Chinese model is something, especially on that tax rebate. You can imagine 13% on each goods export.
And it doesn't seem like rocket science.
No,
what China
if you are
is doing
making order from China, the supplier will tell you, I want this money in dollar because of that tax rebate. If they want to ship your goods, they say, I want to include the CIF so that the tax rate will go up. So they encourage their citizens. Not only that, they do what I call routine check to know the challenges that you are having. And they also ask you to present to them the potential buyers that you have. So when you present to them, they will dissect it. And they will fund you. They will say, how many containers will these buyers buy in a year? They want that dollar. That is why these guys are becoming the highest exporter of commodities all over the world.
They're also highest importers of everything, but the economy is still quite balanced. Talk to me about, still looking at China now, talk to me about that exhibition. I know you attended that one. It's Canton Fair, ones in China.
Exactly,
what did you take home from there?
Well, this Canton Fair is an exhibition that has been going on in China for a very long time. Captains of industries all over the world are always at this Canton Fair. It will happen April and October every year. These guys use that very Canton Fair to display their newest technology, to display their capacity to produce quality products. In fact, from what I gathered, about 35,000 manufacturers registered for the last Canton Fair. I came in on Sunday. And about 1,000 overseas manufacturers displayed their product there. So what I think we Nigerians can take home, it pains me a lot. There was a time I went there with some government officials. And for us to kind of go to that section of manufacturing, because each of them has a section. There's a section for heavy-duty machineries. Most of Nigerians don't like going to that section. They'll put it to you, where is the power? Where is the electricity to power all these machineries? It's a discouraging factor because of this electricity. We depend on rather they concentrate on these finished products. Those that can produce and send to them, they don't want to go into this manufacturing. Because of what? We don't have power. So if there is any way the government can have one-point agenda, I keep on repeating, one-point agenda, for us to solve the problem.
So we should forget about 7.
No, not that they should forget about 7. No. I'm not saying they should forget about 7. See, I'm just talking as somebody who have lived in China,
right.
And these guys are doing so very well. In fact, China are so bold. Some of their billboard, you see them placed there, China feel the world. China create food. They are so proud of themselves. They know what they are doing. If Nigeria, with the population we have in Africa, do you know this Cotonou, Ghana, and the rest of them, they can buy from Nigeria because we have the population, we have the raw materials. So there is need.
And we can make them buy
we can make them buy in Naira, of course. So they should, I'm not saying they should forget about any other agenda they have, but focus on steady power supply. Most of us, I want to tell you, some of us that are in abroad are desirous to come back home to invest. Just like as I came back home in 2012, I brought down my capital, my money into this nation, and set up a manufacturing outfit in Imo State. And I know the employment is created. Most of us are willing, but they are not happy because of this power situation. So the take home for that fair is this: Nigeria, we have the population. Let the government give us conducive environment. Those things that China is doing, I tell you, we can do it in this country. And most of these African continents, like those that surrender us, will stop going to China and they'll buy from us here.
That would be so amazing to see at some point. Thank you so much. Well said. And we definitely hope we can get that conducive business environment so we can produce. Thank you so much, Mr. Festus.
Thank you.
And Bisiogo, Chairman, Blue Diamond Group. It was quite instructive, all that you've said today.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break now. When we come back, commodities market update is next. Do stay with us. Welcome back. Well, yesterday, President Bola Tinubu signed the 2023 supplementary budget into law. Let's get a sense of what to expect with Dumebi Oluwole, Senior Analyst at Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you, Dumebi. Good morning.
Good morning, Larry.
Last time you were here, it wasn't signed into law, but now it's here. What are you expecting?
I mean, going into the details of the budget, what we do see is, if you look at the summary of the budget, the recurrent expenditure is pretty lower than capital expenditure.
But they're quite close.
Very close.
Yeah.
That's why I said pretty. So it's marginally lower. But what we do see, what is happening now, and why this budget has even come into place, in the first place, is clearly there is need to reflect the Nigerian economy and equip consumer demand, equip consumer spending. And on the surface of things, that's exactly what this budget is supposed to do. Coming at a time where they have funds, quite a large sum for as social safety nets, conditional cash transfers to provide to households. Already, there were already talks of that happening earlier in the year, and we already saw some moves from the government. But now it's already signed into law that there's a huge amount of money earmarked for this purpose. I think about 400 billion to alleviate consumer spending. Now, this is a welcome move in terms of the fact that we know how inflation has continually eroded consumer spending over the course of the year. Inflation is around about 27%, approximately 27% as of today, and the expectations that it would continue to increase even up until 2024. Q1 2024. So this is one thing that we see is a good thing. However, when you go deeper into the budget, there are lots of things that have raised a lot of concerns in terms of the priority spending for the federal government, especially when it comes to consumers, and then how they're anchoring business and investment expectations and sentiments. Because right now the economy is in a very fragile state. We're on the path of reforms, and these reforms are extremely painful, not only to consumers, but also to businesses. And as such, both fiscal and monetary policy, there has to be a very good, there has to be that harnessing between fiscal and monetary policy to ensure that if we're tightening monetary policy, we should see some level of tightening as well in fiscal expenditure,
tightening in one place and loosening in another.
Exactly, because what that does is it distorts the transmission effect of both a contractionary monetary policy and fiscal policy to the economy. If we're going expansionary, we should see as well an expansionary monetary policy, and that's exactly what we saw years before now, where we had very low interest rates, and we saw the government as well also spending a lot more in advanced economies. Bringing it here, what the point is this: the details of the budget, they're not properly anchoring business and investment sentiments. And this is because we see things like the government is they're trying to buy more SUVs. We're trying to rehabilitate certain quarters and stuff, not because that is not needed. But the point is, during reforms, we need to reprioritize our expenditure to capture what truly needs to be done. And what really needs to be done, we have a lot of roads that need to be rehabilitated. The agricultural supply chain is still distorted, not because funds were not earmarked for this, but when you look at this of the budget, you do see that there is still that gap. We're still focusing more on recurrent expenditures, and even the recurrent expenditures, when you splice that, you realize that the recurrent expenditure that we're even putting a lot of money in still do not have a strong positive multiplier effect on the economy. So what you see is we're spending money, but with the returns we should be getting in terms of how well it, number one, continues to encourages, in terms of how it encourages business, business opportunities, how it eases, doing business, and how it does encourage consumer spending, it's still lacking in all of that. So we see this very ambitious budget with all of these road projects outlined, but yet there's still a lot of gap in terms of how the government is prioritizing its expenditure as of today. If this was happening at a time where, if the detail of the budget was exactly this, and we didn't have painful reforms, going on, businesses aren't suffering, the Naira isn't suffering, then it's pretty easy to overlook. But we're in a very critical state, and the government we need fiscal expenditure to go in the right direction.
And looking at this supplementary budget now, what is it? What's the forward guidance for 2024? With this kind of budget we're seeing now, what are we seeing for 2024?
I mean, the MTF is out, and we're also seeing something similar. So the truth is, we're seeing quite a divergence between the President Tinubu administration in terms of budgeting and the Buhari administration. Truth be told, and we need to actually give accolades where accolades are due, the government is actually prioritizing capital expenditure. There is no doubt about that. But what we're saying is a lot more still needs to be done, right? Nigeria's economy is consumption accounts for over 70% of Nigeria's GDP.
Right.
So what this means is a reduction in consumption expenditure will reduce Nigeria's GDP by about 70%. And aside from that, when we look at the full picture for national income accounting, there is the investment aspect as well. There's a government expenditure aspect as well. For the investment aspect, we've seen investment inflows significantly decline. And to reflect that, we need to properly anchor investment expectations. We need to anchor that. We need to anchor investment sentiments and their expectations to bring in the money that we need to reflect the Nigerian economy. And ways to do that are, number one, through our monetary policy consolidation. We're seeing a lot of issues when it comes to the CBN's credibility, and that continues to send negative shockwaves to investors as well. We've seen FPIs pull out funds, from the NGX sharply, and it is definitely having a negative impact on the economy. Although we're seeing some form of movement back to orthodox liquidity management by the CBN, which is good. But like I said, in terms of transparency, I think I mentioned this on Tuesday, in terms of monetary policy transparency, how the CBN is actually clearing its backlog and stuff like that, those are the things that will continue to anchor investment sentiment and then bring this money in. On the fiscal side, we need to see more prudent expenditure. And if the government is going to be expansionary in their expenditure, it has to be on proper capital expenditure that will have long-term effects to bring in the funds. An example would be if we're going to have road infrastructure, road projects going on. A particular road project should not be the same amount as the SUV that you're budgeting for. What that tells an investor is, okay, while this is quite good and nice, what that tells me is you're prioritizing looking good over bringing these roads in.
Budgets tell a deep story.
They do tell a very deep story, and especially when you categorize providing SUVs and stuff like rehabilitating certain quarters, especially when you categorize that as capital expenditure, that signals to an investor a very negative thing, because why are you categorizing that under capital expenditure when we all know that this is more of a recurrent expenditure? Yes, it is an asset, But what it will be used for,
Amortization and all of
yes,
that.
but what it will be used for is more of a recurrent thing rather than a long-term, rather than having a long-term impact on the
And we
economy.
would have seen a positive there if maybe those cars were made in Nigeria cars.
I mean,
That would have, brought some kind of succor.
Again, this is where transparency also comes in terms of fiscal policy as well. Whenever a budget is done this way, I know advanced economies do this, and even some African countries like Kenya as well, they do this. There has to be that forum where every detail in the budget is explained to the public, explained to various stakeholders, simply because it does provide, it sheds light on where questions and concerns come up, right? And you're able to just douse whatever negative sentiments that could brew up from that regard. Regardless, as I mentioned, transparency is extremely key. And this is, going back to what I was talking about in terms of national income accounting, this is the investment bit. To bring in these investors, we have to properly anchor investor expectations. The next part of it is government spending. And this is where even the World Bank has said, actually, the Nigerian government or Nigeria as a whole, we do not spend, government spending is one of the lowest globally. And what they meant by that, or government spending per head, is one of the lowest globally. And what they meant by that is not because the government doesn't spend a lot. It's because they're not spending on the things that would trickle down into real GDP per capita. That means that when the government spends on a particular thing, it should have a positive effect in the pocket of every Nigerian. So, and what this means, if you're spending on a particular road, business, it should be, so this is it. It has to be properly targeted, right? If you're spending on a road that is not widely used, there's no productivity that will come from that, right? Because businesses don't. And
if it's not a road that leads to the farms,
exactly. So it has to be properly targeted, and you have to ensure that it has that positive multiplier effect to aid businesses, encourage output, and again, boost consumer.
So in essence, it's not like we're not spending a lot, but
yes,
it's just where
we're spending it to. Exactly.
Quite incredible. Thank you so much. Always great having your perspective.
Thank you.
Dumebi Oluwole, Analyst, Financial Derivatives
Thank
Company.
you very
Thank you. All right, so leading human pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals manufacturing company Micure Industries Limited has listed 4 billion ordinary shares on the Nigerian Exchange Limited by introduction at 2.96 Naira per share. The major listing, which was announced yesterday at its fact behind the figures on the exchange, marks a milestone for the health sector as the company adds 11.84 billion naira to the total market value of the NGX. Take a listen.
In less than 3 months, a third significant listing has been marked on the Nigerian Exchange Limited, NGX, with the addition of Micure Industries Limited to the main board of the stock market. The company, which is a key player in the human pharmaceuticals and nutraceuticals manufacturing sector, made its debut on the NGX on Wednesday with the release of some of its latest financial records, which shows a revenue of 26.6 billion naira posted last year, up from 20.6 billion naira as at 2021.
If that's your question.
In addition to this, details of its 5-year statement indicate the company's revenue has grown from about 15.1 billion naira in 2018. The company's chairman speaks on some of its achievements within the past years.
Significant move on the part of the company and the board members, because a family-run management now is in the eyes of the public. Very important, because this is going to get us visibility and also bring responsibility to all of us. So yes, we have some good expansion plans which we will try to actualize by listing on the stock exchange.
On his part, the CEO of NGX highlights the importance of the listing to the healthcare sector of the exchange.
When you look at our exchange today, one of the things that is notably absent is the number of healthcare companies that you can invest into in our exchange. So to have a company that I would say sits at that intersection of manufacturing on one hand and manufacturing towards the healthcare sector we welcome that very much, because then, of course, it broadens the scope of investable assets for us at the exchange. I think that away from that, it also demonstrates what I would call the core value that the capital markets bring.
Mekia Industries Limited, which was established in 2005, is renowned for its groundbreaking advancements in technology as it continues to be at the forefront of revolutionizing the field of medicine.
All right, let's head on to the markets now. Quite an incredible listing there. We have Willie Wong to give us details. Will, it's another day, another listing.
Yes, another listing. The market is always happy. We like to see, companies coming on.
Right.
It's good to see people having faith in the NGX and able to say, oh, they're coming to the market, trusting the public with their companies and listing and saying, oh, be shareholders. We want to, share our joy with you and, make money from it.
It's quite interesting, and some have termed it undressing in public.
Undressing, yes, because now you have to be accountable for the funding. You have to be transparent. You have to have corporate governance. All those ethics that you probably throw under the table if you aren't listed. It's going to become very important.
We'd like to see that.
So we clear listing and bringing on about 11 billion naira to the market cap, as you said earlier. So it's a good. It's not fantastic, but it's a huge one.
Who knows how many listings we're going to see next year?
Who knows how many listings? And I did mention those fintechs and startups. We don't know how much they're going to bring in, and if they do come on board, if the NGX and the SEC work out the modalities, we're going to see that pump in the market.
Looking forward to it.
We'll probably have our own NASDAQ.
Right.
Very soon.
Tech heavy.
So we see the equities market extending bullish sentiments yesterday. It's a winning streak all the way. The all-share index gained 0.23% yesterday to close at 70,773 points. We're nearing that 71,000 level at the moment. Now, yesterday's market performance was, spurred by buying interest in Boa Cement, Lafarge, FBN Holdings, Access Holdings, UBA, GTCO, all doing their thing and driving the month to date to about 2.2%, and the year to date is now at 38.1%. Let's look at the volume traded yesterday. We see 558.34 million units of shares traded yesterday. FBN Holdings accounted for over 200 million units yesterday, and it also accounted for over 4 billion naira in value. So we're seeing value at 9.79 billion naira yesterday, and then we also have deals 6,401. Look at the top trades. Yes, I said FBN Holdings dominated that segment yesterday. 209.89 million units. UBA not following so closely, but in second lead, 53.72 million units, and Universal Insurance, 10.19 million units. Let's now bring in Ambrose Omodion, is the Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting. He's going to be giving us the ways and the means as to why the market is going the way it is going. 71,000 level is where we're headed, and Ambrose is here to tell us. Good morning, Ambrose.
Yeah, good morning.
So ASI, all-share index, we're on our way to 71,000. What are your thoughts? What's your feeling? Are you feeling good about this?
Yeah, it's good. It's getting to that, a major line. But I believe that the market already at the overbought region, because we've seen that few stocks that are highly priced stocks have moved the market to this environment. But most of the stocks that are yet to move are grossly undervalued because of the high price stock market to this level. It has seen that the index itself is already overbought. But I believe that other indexes in the market, sector indexes, are looking good for us to kind of choose where to put our money, because I tell you, we are all in the market for to make money. But one thing again that is becoming a bit worrisome now is that, yes, we have seen impressive Q3 operating number that hit the market recently. But the recent development in terms of rising yield, in the fixed income market, like for me, it's a missed back or a threat to the equity space. We are seeing about 16.75 yesterday at the end of the option from OTB. It tells you that, yes, those risk instruments and those people that are not ready to take risk are likely to go to that direction. On the ground that, yes, there is a good yield. But I will tell you, looking at the reality in the economy today, seeing where inflation is, yes, you might say that inflation around 27, you are getting 16.75 as a yield for transport days in a treasury bill, you are still in negative return. But because it's a signaling sign that when the coming MPC meeting, will the APC be voting for another hike, other 50 basic, 45 basic to 19? This also will be a kind of a threat to the economy, because economy that is being kind of sophisticated or kind of moved to a corner with a rate will not expand. And don't forget that our large GDP that we released saw a marginal growth from Q1 to Q3 compared to the previous year, already in a decline state. That means the economic managers in Nigeria today should think twice on the feet. Is it to drive the economy or to attract the foreign investors, which you're enticing them with a high yield? But I believe that it is one thing that if the economy is doing well, they will the white people want to evolve, or the foreign investors want to attract, who naturally come to Nigeria economy if we are doing well. In this environment that you are seeing a lot of different nations, different embassies telling them where they should not go in Nigeria, it said that they are not ready to bring their money here. Now let's look inward and let our economy grow with reduced interest rate. We know that before now, it is not because we have too much money in circulation that have pushed our inflation to this level. It's about one structural problem which they need to be resolved by the fiscal and monetary authority. But going within the terms of rates, because what we're seeing this hike in TB for the past 2 weeks now, or two options, it tells you that it's likely that at the coming MPC meeting 21st of this month, they will likely go to hike rate. But all eyes are still on them to see what they are doing. But I believe that we will not sacrifice our economy in the name of attracting foreign investors by having a high interest rate or high yield in the market.
It's very, very true there. Very, very true, Ambrose. When I looked at the results of the NTB auction yesterday, at the primary market auction, I did see the long end of the paper being offered. I mean, the swap rate was as 16%, over 16%. And you'd wonder, you said, we're trying to attract investors, or we should work on our economy and make it viable, strong enough to be able to attract investors, not attract them with high interest or high yields, and that's actually adding to the cost of paying, servicing the debt that we have.
Exactly.
So we're just hoping that the right strategy is deployed and employed and used to attract investors rather than sacrifice the country, as you said. So let's look at other matters in the capital market space. Now we see Micure yesterday. We just saw that before I came on. Micure listing on the NGX yesterday, and it's listed at 2.96 Naira, but we saw that full bid that drove it to about 3.95 Naira. Did you see that coming for Micure, seeing that they're pharmaceutical and they're not so well? Are they well known? What's the catch there? Why are investors so hungry for Micure? Or is it because it's a new fish in the river?
No, actually, when it comes to investment, there are some sectors that investors naturally want to buy into. When it comes to healthcare, it's just because in Nigeria here, we will treat healthcare as if we are joking with it. That is the most important sector to be given attention. In a mature economy, because we are having people aging, new child or new children or newborn baby are coming up. For that sector needs attention. That means activity should be on the up direction. Micure is into laboratory clearing. They have a lot of equipment. They see that yes, they're using modern machine in terms of running their service. And to start with, and also they are doing well in terms of number. I tell you that every investor wants to look at is the company doing well in terms of number. That will support whether dividend will come out or not. We look at the figure that were released during the listing, that we saw that their top line are going to from 20.7 billion to about 26.64 billion for 2021 to 2022. If that trend is sustained in 2023 going to the product, it's a good move for them. Their PAT moved from 672.7 million to 2.6 billion within this period, 2021 to 2022. For me, it's a good one. But one that is also very important, that the earning per share that every investor wants to look at is at 1 Naira 30 kobo against at the 4 kobo 2021. For me, it's a good one for a start. And one thing that that their share in issue is very, very small. You see the life of Gregu in the market today, because the share in issue is very, very so tight in terms of share structure. You look at what BOA is doing today, BOA Food and BOA Cement, even Dangote, these shares are in few hands. Also, Micure have followed that trend. Also, as we speak now, Micure has about just, I'll tell you about the 2.44% is one left for the public. That means after this listing, NSR to do their job by explaining that we need a free float of at least 20% to the market. Right now, just about 5 people in Micure or other directors or owners have about almost 98% of the company, which is not too healthy, because it means that this shares is in few hands, not available in the market. But when you say that it gained 10% yesterday, I'm not surprised, because the day of listing only just 1,000 shares were used to list that stock. It was listed. And no, because also it's a new listed stock, people want to get in, and it's not available in the market because it's in few hands. That's the investors don't look at. When you are buying into a stock, whose stock is very kind of is volatile or have a lot of float to buy in and out. But when it is in few hands, you can see how the people have moved from 100 naira to 400, almost 400. Without anything, without even good result, but because the share is not in the public, you should understand is that this also kind of tactics or what I call it strategy that is to come to the market. Let the regulator make sure that they have enough floating when you are bringing them to the market. As I speak now, it's just only about those 2.4 in the public. About those 9.8 is what is in few hands. It's not ready for the market. The regulator should come up and make sure that they give us company that has a good float for other investors in the market to participate.
Okay, so definitely not using few stocks to chase, a large number of investors. That drives the price up. So very quickly, Ambrose, could you just summarize what your thoughts, maybe in 1 or 2 sentences, what do you think about Japan Gold? Do you think that their expansion will help with their fundamentals? Is it going to bolster the fundamentals of the company?
Yeah, it's expected to do that because even the Nigerian government is more looking at extraction, and Japan has gone into gold already. And we know that before now, Japan is really in local content, and now that is where also the government is looking for to drive revenue for the government. I see a lot of potential for Japan. Yeah, for me, for the stock to be coming to the market, either for around 2 naira 50 kobo, there's value already they are seeing and where they are going. If you want to buy into Japan, even as we speak now, buy with medium and long-term mind. Don't buy for short-term because you might not get what you expect in the short run. But on the medium to long run, when this company solidify and start moving ahead, you will see value because I see value too in that stock in the future.
Thank you so much, Ambrose Omodian, Chief Research Officer, Invest Data Consulting, for sharing those insights. Very interesting perspective. So, Ladi, here you have it. You say Japan Gold heading for that strong boost that's going to have that strong fundamentals that investors are going to be looking out for and making, sound investment decisions. So maybe we should not just be quick to just, throw them.
I'm talking about sound investment decisions. Great one for that Mercure listing. Hoping, that cures some investment poverty for some investors, in that stock.
I like that.
Thank you, Will. That was Will giving us details from the local boss there and some details from fixed income market. Let's check other markets now. Let's take a look at what's happening in the crypto space. It's really, really bullish, and we see the color right there on the screen. Yep, deep green there with Bitcoin, Ethereum, and most of the markets and coins we track there. Big Link doing incredibly well. Shiba Inu, one of the meme coins, they're also deep in the green this morning. Look at that. Bitcoin breaking that 36,000 level, up 3.75% this morning. Ethereum also inching closer to another psychological level, another new high in 2023, $1,920. Could be $2,000. I'm sure investors are eyeing that level, at this time. We see BNB not left out also. Let's look at the top cryptocurrencies we track now. We know that it's more greedy, definitely, for the market right now. If we're looking at sentiment, it's definitely more greedy this morning. Bitcoin, $36,640 this morning. We see Cardano not left out there, up 3.54%. BNB, native coin for the Binance exchange there, holding up $249, and we see XRP trying to break another psychological level there, 69 cents, 70 cents right now on the horizon, 2.40%, and definitely new levels. We're seeing new highs for most of the cryptocurrencies we track on the market there from Coin Market Cap. So it's looking quite bullish and green this morning. Let's bring in Olumide Additional, our financial market analyst. Olumide, good morning.
Yeah, good morning, Ladi. It's a very green.
Very green.
Thursday morning.
Very green, Lumide. And I know you know a lot about the NGX and the local bourse, and we're seeing new highs in that market, and we're seeing Bitcoin also following with new highs in 2023. Is this the start of a new rally for the crypto market?
Well, against market expectation, one would be expecting such comments, particularly at this period of the year, but just like you rightly reiterated, Bitcoin is at 18-month high, and that's primarily because the window for a US Bitcoin spot approval starts today. So market pundits are looking at the fact that it's more likely that Bitcoin might break by the end of 40,000 before the end of the month. But you see, the dynamics about the market is three things. Bitcoin has been up 31% in the month of October. It has really pushed the crypto market valuation over $1.3 trillion. And that's probably because we are seeing short sellers being squeezed. We're seeing liquidity. We're seeing conservative investors planning to get into the most sought crypto asset. And also the fact that conversation between the Securities Exchange Commission and Grayscale on a spot ETF approval definitely has changed the dynamics. It's been a very interesting rally, but this market is very volatile. You've seen how Bitcoin from 69,000 dropping to below 16,000 levels. So despite the fact that it's been a bullish one has to understand that dynamics can also change, because we still have concerns by the United States Congress about giving them the United States administration seeking more powers to claim crypto assets, and also stablecoin regulation in the European Union definitely tells you concerns about central banks on the systemic role crypto market is having in the financial system.
Yeah, definitely. Quite interesting times, Olumide. 2023, we've seen a massive currency devaluation right here in Nigeria. We've seen sky-high, inflation. And definitely with forward guidance, you would think risk assets will suffer. But we're seeing, Bitcoin hitting new highs. We're seeing the NGX All-Share Index, hitting new highs. What is this telling us, really? And what kind of strategy do you go into 2024 with?
Well, I think it's just the narration that investing definitely is much better than staying idle. And, for Nigerians, I think this has been an awesome year. The NGX, the crypto market, and also US tech stocks, these are assets the average Nigerian is really excited about. And I think what it has really retreated is that over time, assets that have value and resilient fundamentals usually outperform over a long period of time. Bitcoin is still the most performing asset for the past decade. This is an asset that many years ago was trading less than $1, and right now it's already moving at 36,700 to the asset. So I think for the everyday investor, one should understand dynamics that despite the risk that comes with investing in risky assets, the fact that likes like BlackRock coming to the market, these are $8 trillion asset management firm that will definitely support liquidity. So those that are edging against the Naira definitely have the crypto market to rely on. But those that rely on the Naira is not also doing bad, because we have stocks that have outperformed Bitcoin per massive. If you look at CWG, for example, has done 800%. Bitcoin has just done 180% this year. We also look at MRS. MRS has done about 680% this year, while Bitcoin is still hovering around below 200%. So it's different dynamics for different investors, but all to say that those that invested definitely will have a dirty.
Right. And I hope traders that are not invested can manage the FOMO, that fear of missing out emotion. Hopefully they manage it if they're not invested. Thank you so much, Olumide Additional, financial market analyst. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
So there you have it. Still a very greedy market right here, talking about the crypto market and the NGX too. Really greedy right now at this point. That's a wrap on the program. Don't forget to join us at 1:30 on Business Incorporated for more updates on developments in the world of business. And you can also visit www.channelcv.com for more updates. Thank you for watching. I'm Ladi Williams. Have a profitable day.